when I found the No Pants project, a whole bunch of those pieces that were missing got filled in for me. A lot of the mindsets about how to be a business owner, all those things that I didn't know. All of a sudden, here was somebody that was saying, "Look, this is what you need to do. This is how you need to think about this particular thing. This is how you think about your clients. This is how you go looking for clients and how you find them, how you speak to them."
Hey guys, Delisha Ivins here, and today I'm here on behalf of Mike Shreve and the No Pants Project, hanging out with Spencer Gee, who is going to tell us a little bit about his freelance journey and what he's doing today, and just kind of tell us about some of the hurdles and the upswings and what he does. So Spencer, welcome to the No Pants Show.
Hello, 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 everybody.
So where are you joining us from, Spencer?
I'm in Oklahoma, just north of Oklahoma City.
Very cool. They like tie-dye in Oklahoma, huh?
Well, in our house we do.
So Spencer, tell me a little bit about your superpower. What is it that you do for clients?
I help coaches write, design, and deliver amazing webinars. That's kind of what I do. I mean, there are lots of things that go into that, but at the crux, that's what I do.
That's pretty cool. So you help design like all the slides and things like that they use in the webinars?
Yes, absolutely.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So how are you enjoying freelancing so far?
It's better now. When I just finished I'm one of the ones that's an internal student. Like, it took me a long time to figure out how to get out of school. And so when I finished my most recent degree, I was really uncomfortable with the idea of going to work at just a typical design studio, because I knew that would mean long hours. It would mean that I would be away from my wife and my children a lot. And so as I got closer to graduation, kind of the idea that we had was for me to start freelancing. The only problem is they didn't teach me anything about how to run a business in school. I learned all about the design side, but when it came to the business stuff, I didn't know anything, like literally nothing. We had one section that was a couple of weeks long about the business of design, and that was it. And so when I got done, I started freelancing or trying, and I failed miserably. Like, I didn't know how to get clients. I didn't know, I really just didn't know anything. And so it was a real struggle, and I spent a lot of time beating myself up because I thought, I should know how to do this stuff. But the fact is nobody taught me how to do that stuff. So of course I didn't know. And so, when I found the No Pants project, a whole bunch of those pieces that were missing got filled in for me. A lot of the mindsets about how to be a business owner, all those things that I didn't know. All of a sudden, here was somebody that was saying, "Look, this is what you need to do. This is how you need to think about this particular thing. This is how you think about your clients. This is how you go looking for clients and how you find them, how you speak to them." So all those things, the business side, and I was just like super excited when I found it, because it was, for me, it was the missing piece. It was all that stuff that I didn't learn in school that I really needed to know to run a successful business.
I hear you. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who do. I mean, like I know I took graphics and some other courses and stuff, and I remember I had to take business law, which was horrid for me anyway. I was not a law student, but it was really like even just taking marketing classes and everything else. Like that's one of the things. Like a lot of colleges, a lot of universities just don't really touch on or are just strategies and things like that. So I totally get where you're coming from there. So tell me some of the goals that you have with freelancing. Like what are you looking to do with freelancing now?
I mean, the big thing for me is to be able to do the freelance work, feel good about what I do, and still be there for, like, be a good dad, be a good husband. Like those things are super important to me, um, especially since I'm kind of the stay-at-home parent. My wife works outside of the home, and she's quite happy in her job, and I love that she's happy in her job. Um, and I want to be able to be a help around the house. So getting my boys to where they need to be, being home when they come home from school, those sorts of things are, and being able to have both, to have both the family life and the work life that are both satisfying. I mean, that's what I wanted to do. I spent a lot of time when I was a student, um, being angry at the tension that I had to choose. I didn't like the idea of it's either your family or your job, and that's the a lot of the people that I was in school with, I was on average 10 to 15 years older than them. And so, none of them are married, none of them have children. And so my mindset was very different. And the things that I was wanting were very different. And so, being able to not have to choose between work and my family, that was like the real draw for me. And it continues to be the goal. And I guess it will continue to be the goal, for as long as I'm freelancing, because I don't want that tension. I don't want to have to choose. I want my business to be fulfilling, and I want my family life to be fulfilling.
I hear you. Yeah. So when you were freelancing before the No Pants project, was there balance there? Were you able to kind of balance that? Or was that, I know you mentioned that it was stressful because you didn't really know, how to get clients and what you were doing there. Can you talk a little bit about what life was like before No Pants?
Um, yeah, it was kind of miserable. Uh, I mean, there wasn't the same tension between work and family, but the the satisfaction from the work side simply wasn't there. There was no happiness, in what I was trying to do before. Um, and yeah, but the tension. I mean, sure, the tension wasn't there. I was able to kind of work family life and work life around one another, so that, it was not like I was saying no to my child because I had some work project to do. I didn't have to have that. Um, but the work that I was doing it wasn't fulfilling, and it was, the jobs that were coming through were few and far between, because I didn't know what I was doing.
Right. So did you kind of already know, because you kind of were already doing some work in this area. Did you already know what your superpower was going in? Like, did you already know that you wanted to help coaches in that?
No, no, I certainly didn't, because once I got out of design school, I finished and started freelancing kind of with the idea of, well, I went to school for this, I should keep doing it. And as I said before, I mean, design was the most recent of the degrees that I have. Um, I went to school for teaching English, not teaching English as a second language, but teaching students how to write and how to argue and how to communicate. So that was what I was doing before, and I I think before I found the No Pants Project, I felt that desire to integrate both of those things, the design and the writing. Because a lot of the designers that go out to the field, they can write or they can design. But when we were in school and we had something that we had to write, a bunch of the other students were coming to me because they knew that I had that capability. And so I wanted to be able to integrate both, but I didn't know how to do it. And it wasn't until, the training from the No Pants Project that I figuring out that I wanted to work with coaches it was when I joined the No Pants Project is when that happened. Because one of the other things that I've always been apprehensive about was the ability of, well, no, not like that. It made me nervous to use design for just selling things, just kind of whatever. I liked the idea of being able to help people, and I see, there are coaches out there that are doing what they're doing is they're trying to help people, and I can help them do that. And so it's not just here, buy this thing that you may or may not need, but it's more along the lines of here's something that we can do for you that will help you be a better version of you. And I like that. And that's something that I feel like I'm constantly doing is trying to be a better version of me. For my family, for the people that are around me, I want to be a better version of me. And so deciding that coaches is the group that I want to work with, it's because that's what they're trying to do. And I like the idea of working with people who are trying to help other people be better versions of themselves.
That's awesome. That's so cool. And you like figured that out through the exercises and MPP. I love that so much.
Yes.
So what was how was your confidence going into the No Pants Project? I mean, you already had, the technical skills, the design skills. So how did you feel like when you joined the program?
Confidence has always been low. I have a tendency to put a lot of pressure on myself, like immense pressure, especially, and it became worse when I was in design school because, like I said before, I was older than almost all of my classmates by at least 10 years. And so I felt going into it, I thought, okay, well, if I've got 10 years on them, that means I've got 10 years experience on them. So I should just be better. And that's, of course, really faulty thinking. But and I've always, that's just kind of how I do. I'm my own worst critic, like 100% of the time. And so going into the No Pants Project, like while I was excited to learn the things that I knew that I didn't know, I've always had that tendency to just really beat myself up, and to put immense amounts of pressure on myself to excel, because the way that my design program was structured specifically was, you're trying to be the best. Period. That's like your job. You're in there to be the best.
That is a lot of pressure. So they just kind of structured that so you were competing against like all the other students and.
In some ways, yeah.
Wow.
There was a lot of they encouraged the collaboration, of course, and to help everybody be better. But yeah, it was all about being the best. The design program that I came out of has won a lot of awards, like student awards, and continues to do so. Being one of the, in Oklahoma, the design program that I came out of is the only one that was accredited by a national design and art and design accreditation organization. It's the only program in the state that has it. And so there's a really high bar. And I mean, you even with trying to get into the program, it's just because you take the classes, it doesn't mean that you're in the program. There's a portfolio review that you have to pass in order to get in, and some people just don't get in. And so it was really super competitive in that respect. And I think that the tendency that I have to put a lot of pressure on myself was only compounded by that atmosphere. And it kind of stuck with me after I graduated. And so when I started freelancing, you know, there was that, Spencer, you need to be better at this. You should know how to do this stuff. Well, you know, of course I didn't. But that pressure on myself was certainly there. And it was all me. I knew it was all me. I just didn't know what to do about it.
Yeah, but I mean, now you can, you know, use that sense of trying to get better and just continually deliver. Like that'll continually push you to learn new skills and to get better at your skills, so you deliver better results for your clients. So that's pretty cool. I mean, it is a little hard, but like learning even how to take something that could have been a weakness if you'd let it keep you down, but learning how to twist it and use it as a strength is a pretty awesome component. So tell me a little bit about freelancing now. So you've kind of gone through the No Pants program. You're still in the groups and still active in the groups. What does life look like for you now?
It's better. I mean, I feel more confident in what I'm doing. And I just wrapped up a couple weeks ago a job designing slides for an entire program for a client. And that was really a big project. It was something like 300 slides I designed for her.
Wow.
Yeah, she already had the script written out. And so it was my job to, since I know how to write, it was my job to go through and make those slides fit with what she'd written. And so, you know, since I know how the writing works, I know how the design works, I know how to make them work together. It was my job to do all of those slides. And yeah, there were about 300 of them. And she and I are already kind of talking about kind of version 2.0 of the course. She's launching in about, I think she launches next week. I just got an email from her not too long ago, like yesterday or the day before. I think that the course launches next week, and we've already been talking about how to interpret feedback. Because one of the things that I also know how to do is I was a teacher. So I was teaching students how to write. So I know how to get up in front of a group of people, and I know how to talk to them. I know how to interpret their feedback. And so this client of mine relied on me for that sort of for those things as well. But yeah, we're already talking about kind of version 2.0 of the course, how to interpret the feedback that we get from the students on these the slides and the videos that she's making. But yeah, I went into that, a little bit apprehensive, but then it was like, why are you getting uptight, Spencer? You know what you're doing. And so I just kind of latched onto that right there, the idea that I know what I'm doing here. And I just ran with it. And this client was very pleased with how the work that I did for her. And she does want to keep working with me, because this is, in her mind, this is just like the first course that she's doing. She's already thinking of more. And she wants to keep working with me because she liked the work that I did for her.
So tell me, when you started No Pants, the program is structured for 12 weeks. Where are you at in the course? Like, how far along are you in the course? Did you already get through like the full 12 weeks?
I think I kind of stalled around the package knowledge part,
Okay.
but it's not completely stalled because I did the expert maker also, and so um, that's teaching me more things about structuring the package knowledge. So I feel like I'm kind of continuing to do work on the package knowledge now, but from the standpoint of the expert maker program.
Okay. Well, and the reason I asked is because I'm trying to get an idea of how long did it take you to get like your first client using your new superpower? And, like how far along were you in the program when you got your first client?
Um, well, for me, the 12 weeks had passed, but that I wasn't very good at keeping up. So doing everything for week one on that first week, because again, I am trying to balance the stuff that I'm doing with the no pants and the work and my family. And so since my family kind of takes precedent, I worked a little bit slower on the trainings. I want to say that. Um, let's see. I don't even remember what month I started, but it was probably a few months after I started that I made the first connection with the woman that is now my client. She wasn't my client right away. In fact, I had a call with her. We talked through some things. In fact, we had 2 or 3 calls before she became my client. Um, I guess for her, she needed those multiple contact points with me um, before she became my client, and um, so it was. We had a few calls, and then I didn't hear from her for probably a month, 6 weeks, and then she writes back and says, "Hey, are you still available?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." And um, so I want to say that she became my client in March, I think, and then like real work began probably 2 weeks later, um, and then yeah, I finished up with her slides in July, June, and she's getting ready to. She's been working on all of the editing. So I guess that's a really long way to say I'm not really sure how far along in the program I was because I really don't remember when I started. Um, but Yeah, it was earlier this year that she became my client, and then we wrapped up in about June, I think.
Awesome. So, how many clients have you gotten through the No Pants project so far?
It's just the one for
Okay,
now.
for now.
Um, but I mean, that was as much as I could handle at the time. One was enough for me.
Well, yeah, like 300 slides. That's a pretty big
Yeah,
project.
yeah. Well, and you know, I had it was we had the summer, and both my boys were home, and keeping their ages 6 and 3, and keeping up with those two guys is sometimes. I mean, it's full-time job in and of itself, right? And so, kind of my thought was I can handle one client right now while I have both my boys home. And then my older son started kindergarten. My younger son started pre-K, so I have mornings now. And so I'm at a point where I can say, okay, I can handle it. Adding one, maybe 2 more clients. And so that's where I am right now. That's what I'm working on is getting advertising ready, all of the email copy done, to kind of land that one, maybe 2 more clients right now. And when my boys both go full day, then I can add one, maybe 2 more.
Hmm.
But I mean that's kind of the nice thing about doing the freelance is I can look at how much time I have to devote to it after I factor in family time, and I can say I have time for one client. Cool, let's do it. Now I have time for 2, maybe 3 clients. Cool, let's do it. And when I have both my boys in school and I have the whole day, a couple more. Cool, let's do it.
Right. No, I like that. And I mean, I think like that's definitely one of the things that Mike teaches in the program, and you're totally just taking that and rocking it. But, just building your business around your lifestyle. And
Yes.
like I can see that family for you is very important, and it is for me also, which is why I kind of limit the clients that I take on at the same time too. But just knowing that you don't have to grind out like 40, 50, 60 hours, especially if you're able to work at your freedom number, which is pretty key. Now, with the client that you're working with now, was that booked close to your freedom number or at your freedom number?
It was right at it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was right at the freedom number. In fact, and the nice thing about it was that when I sent over, what I thought it would take to do the job, I was very fortunate that she, it was a number that was higher than what she was comfortable with. And rather than just say, no, I'm not going to, no, this is where it deals off. She came back and said, okay, this is not a number I'm comfortable with. How can we adjust what you're doing for me to fit within my budget? And so it felt really cool to have somebody want to work with me bad enough that they were willing to say, okay, I still want to work with you. How can we adjust this number? How can we adjust what you're doing for me so that it fits within my budget? And that was, I don't know. I don't know if I can attribute that to the No Pants Project, but I mean, I guess probably so, because of how I positioned myself. Mike talks about being the market of one.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I guess in that respect, I was the market of one, and she wanted to work with me. And so she said, oops, sorry.
Technical difficulties too.
Yes, sorry. Yeah. Anyway, she wanted to work with me bad enough that she wanted to figure out how we could still work together. And so, that felt really, really validating for me, that she wasn't just going to go look for somebody else. She wanted to work with me because she knew she knew about what I knew how to do, wanted to leverage my skills to get what she wanted. And so, and it was, we adjusted how much work I was doing for her, and it stayed at my freedom number. So I didn't have to feel bad about making that adjustment. We just adjusted how much work I was doing. We adjusted it down. I was just doing less of the work. She was taking on more of it. But yeah, and I didn't, because it was still at my freedom number, I didn't have to feel bad about negotiating in that way.
So, care to tell us what your freedom number is, or is that top secret?
It's fluctuating.
It's going up. I want more stuff.
It's going up. Yeah. I started at about around $100 an hour, and that was kind of the breakover. If it was anything less than that, then I wasn't interested. But I'm sure that if I reevaluate again, it will probably be higher.
Yeah. I've seen some people going back through the course and they're like, no, I think I want to do more stuff now. And they're like, I think I'm going up.
Yeah.
It's been super fun to watch. So, and that's kind of a fun thing too about the course, is that it's a lifetime membership. So you can definitely go back through it. Like I will be going back through it myself because I've had some successes. So I want to go back through and tweak and adjust and be a better version of myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about, how do you feel about your future now freelancing? How do you feel about, what you're going to be doing with your company and with the clients that you want to help? I know you're still kind of just getting started, but I can see already it's the tip of the iceberg for you.
Yeah. So let me make sure I'm understanding. What do I see happening as I go forward?
Yeah, like how do you feel about your future now? Like I know things were kind of stressful before, but now that you've gotten, one client successfully, like her job completed and you're getting ready now that the boys are in school and you've kind of figured out how to make the pieces work.
Well, there's confidence there that I feel like wasn't there before. Um, I'm not I'm not nervous about landing another client. Like I'm not nervous about the process of doing that because, um, like I said before, the pieces have been filled in for me. Those gaps in my knowledge have been filled in, and so it's not it's not an unknown. Like I don't have to. I'm not worried about finding the next client. That's not an issue anymore. And I know that there are a lot of freelancers, and even you know, since I'm just kind of thinking still about design studios. There's still some design studios even that they're worried about where the next client is going to come from, um, and I feel very unburdened to not have to worry about that. I don't have to worry about how I'm going to do it. I already know how to do it. It's just implementing, and that feeling is it's very freeing. Like I don't feel burdened by how am I going to do this? I don't know what I'm doing. I do know what I'm doing now. Um, it's just a matter of getting out there and doing it. So at this point, if I don't succeed, it's just because I haven't done anything. Because I have those tools. The No Pants Project has given me a full set of tools to move forward and do, get that one or two more clients that I'm looking for now. Like I don't have to worry about it. It's just I just implement and go do it.
Yep. That's super, like getting out of your head and just do the work.
Yes.
So you have learned how to masterfully and skillfully integrate your design superpower with your writing superpower, with your teaching superpower, with your like feedback and analytics superpower, all those components used to help people, which is amazing. So could you give those of us who are out watching, or maybe even like me, like if I wanted to design a course, what would be your top three points or design points or super fun things that you would tell me, like, okay, if you're going to design a course, here's what you got to do. What would be your top ones?
Okay. Number one, if you're designing a course, or even if you're just designing slides or getting a webinar ready, um, get out of your head. Get out of your head. Seriously, just get something down on paper and get out of your head. Number two is don't put off the slides until the very end. I think that too many people think, oh, I don't know how to do the slides, so they, there's that fear, and then they decide to just put it off, and then it becomes sort of an afterthought. And the problem there is that if you did it as an afterthought, it's going to look like an afterthought. And the thing about the slides themselves that I would say is to just use images. Don't use your slides as talking points. Don't put your talking points up there and then read them. Use images, because we respond to images far more quickly and far more meaningfully than we do words.
Awesome. Yeah, that's super helpful. So I'm going to keep that in mind because I actually do have to create some training videos. And I'm sure my client will now actually like me more because I'm pretty sure my last presentation was headline, bullet point, bullet point.
It's kind of the default. It is. But if you want to stand out, it's the images. It's using the images and not putting those slides off till the very end.
Awesome. That's super helpful. Okay, tell me a little bit about like what would be some of the, like a breakthrough or like a fun tactic or a strategy that you use to overcome struggles and to get ahead?
I have to repeat to myself a couple of things. One I've already said is get out of your head. Being a person that puts immense pressure on myself, and that comes from just spending too much time in my head. I have to get it down, get it out of my head, and move on. And the other thing that I have to keep repeating to myself is done is better than perfect. In addition to putting immense amounts of pressure on myself, I also have a tendency toward wanting it to be just perfect, wanting it to be just so. And that's not I mean, it's good in theory, but when you're trying to accomplish something, when you're trying to help people, getting something done and out there is far better than waiting and tweaking and making it perfect and waiting some more because you can tweak some more. There's always going to be something that you can tweak and make better. Getting it done and out there where it's helping people is way better than something that you just got under wraps because you want to make one more change.
Right. No, I hear you. What would be, as we're getting ready to wrap up here in a minute, what would be like your Spencer Gee's parting words of wisdom? Like, I feel like there was like an SNL snippet at one point where there was like wisdom from a corner. What would be your wisdom from a corner?
Well, I mean, I kind of feel like that I've already touched on it. And that's the two things that I have to keep telling me. Get out of your head, and done is better than perfect. If I can keep myself reminded of those two things, I move forward. If at any point I forget those two things, I come to a grinding halt, and it's ugly. I have to just keep telling myself, get out of your head and keep going. Get something done. Something done.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. And for those of us, those nice folks out in the YouTube and in the video land who are watching this interview, what would you say to anyone who is maybe considering looking at the No Pants Project, or they're trying to see if that's a good fit for them or if it's a good value for them? Like, what would you say about the No Pants Project?
I say take the leap. I do. I was one of the ones that that spent a few days thinking about it, because I'd already lost a lot of money trying to freelance before, and I didn't want to lose more money. But I feel like even just getting to the point where I knew what I did and I knew who I did it for, so knowing my superpower and knowing who I could help with that superpower made the price tag totally worth it. Because that was far and away, it was just way further away from where I was, not knowing really what I wanted to do, not really knowing who I wanted to help. So just the part of going through those trainings and figuring out, making decisions about what I did, what I wanted to do, and who I wanted to help, that made it really worth it to me. And if anybody out there is on the fence, number one, just believe in yourself, believe that you can do it, and take the leap. Take the leap. For me, it filled in tons of gaps in my knowledge. It helped me. I'm not going to say that No Pants Project gave me confidence. What I am going to say is that the No Pants Project helped me understand how to have confidence in myself, and to move forward with that and to trust in that confidence. So if you're on the fence, take the leap. Is it a leap of faith? Yeah, it kind of is. But take it. Just take it. And don't look back. Just take it and run.
I'm just curious, and this is just kind of like for my own curiosity too. I know you've worked with one client today, but have you, or are you close to recouping your initial investment in the No Pants Project from that client work that you've done?
I recouped it and then some from one client.
That's awesome. That's so cool. You're amazing. Yeah, that
Thank
right.
you. I try.
That's so awesome. Well, Spencer, I know you got to get back to the kids, and I got to get to my kids too. So I want to thank you so much for taking your time to join us on the No Pants Project show and telling us a little bit about your superpower of helping coaches create better slides and better presentations for their courses.
Yep. Thank you.
Sorry, I probably should have said thank you again.
No, thank you.
I'll see you in the Facebook group, Spencer. Have a
All
good
right.
one.
Take care.